Werner Herzog was one of the first directors I truly connected with on this channel. My third ever video was a review of Aguirre, The Wrath of God, and I've already found myself returning to that film. Unlike Herzog's timeless works, that early video has aged poorly. So what is it about Werner Herzog that fascinates me so deeply? The truth is, there's simply no one else like him. Take, for example, his upbringing. Being brought up in a Bavarian village, the son of German nationalists during World War II, so read between the lines there, and not having been exposed to film until he was 11. I'm a tremendous fan of Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. Both of their careers and even life trajectories could not have been further from Werner's. Scorsese and Tarantino were exposed to film early on and have a nearly encyclopedic knowledge of film. Werner, on the other hand, stole his first video camera, which he would use to film his first 7 movies. His life, his vision, and his sheer commitment to capturing the truth on film are unlike anything else I've come across in cinema. That kind of devotion is rare, and in Herzog's case, it's electrifying. Aguirre, The Wrath of God remains one of the most magical pieces of cinema I've seen. From our opening scene, we know that splendor, spectacle, and limitless possibilities abound as we watch an ethereal descent along the slopes of Machu Picchu. We know that what we are about to witness is profound, even mythic, but even that momentous opening can barely prepare us for what is about to follow. We see what must have been an arduous shoot for cast and crew due to the innate challenges and difficulties of filming on the Amazon River. To top it all off, we have what I think is one of the greatest character studies I've witnessed. Klaus Kinski as Don Lope de Aguirre is frightening, magnetic, and utterly committed. His presence looms large in the story of Herzog himself. Never has the simmer under the surface led to as fruitful a slow descent into madness. You will see Klaus Kinski will prove himself to be a major character in the story of Werner Herzog moving forward. Herzog's beginnings would go on to include 2 films starring Bruno S., a non-actor with a haunting presence in real-life institutional history. Bruno S. does not bring the same offerings as Klaus Kinski. Hell, nobody does. But this duo of films are well respected among fans and critics alike. These 2 films are The Enigma of Caspar Hauser and Strozek. The Enigma of Caspar Hauser tells the story of a boy raised in total isolation, discovering the world with childlike wonder. It's not hard to see the parallels to Herzog's own artistic awakening. Werner does the same for filmmaking. Then there's Strozek, a deeply tragic portrait. It shows the crumbling of the immigrant vision and the American dream. It ends with a dancing chicken, a surreal, heartbreaking image of absurdity, loneliness, and the collapse of hope. Heart of Glass is perhaps the most surreal and hypnotic Herzog film that I've seen so far. Not only does the dialogue make the moral of the story hard to capture, the performances are truly unique because the actors are hypnotized. Herzog sets to criticize modern culture through this film. It is an allegory for how lost a society can become when it loses its own culture and becomes dead set on economic means rather than spirituality. The main character is one who is not listened to and seen as a madman to some, while being the only one not lost in a hypnotic daze. The result is eerie, dreamlike, and one of Herzog's most audacious experiments. Klaus Kinski and Herzog collaborated on 5 films, and each one is a cinematic volcano. Beautiful, volatile, and occasionally dangerous. The final 4 films are Nosferatu the Vampire, Wojciech, Fitzcarraldo, and Cobra Verde, and are some of Herzog's most intense explorations of obsession. If it's been said once, it's been said to death. You can't talk about Herzog without mentioning Kinski. Klaus Kinski was a certified madman, with whose exploits would become better known to the world in Herzog's 1999 documentary, My Best Fiend. What they created together is unmatched, however, and worth it all from a viewer's perspective. Not only is Aguirre my favorite Herzog film, but my second favorite is Fitzcarraldo. If we look at non-documentaries, henceforth called narrative features, Nosferatu the Vampire is my third favorite Herzog offering. While I've only seen 16 of Herzog's extensive resume, it's hard to argue that the combo didn't make magic every time they crossed paths. The end of the 70s came for Herzog and Kinski as they released 2 pictures together, Nosferatu the Vampire and Wojciech. Nosferatu is obviously Herzog's adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is vivid in color and beautiful in its cinematography. Wojciech is another descent into madness film that is similar in plot to Stroyzek. Much like Stroyzek, Wojciech is a man who sacrifices his sanity in hopes of keeping his family safe and, most importantly, happy. In both stories, this goes awry, but Wojciech ends much more explosively. Fitzcarraldo, in particular, is legendary. The story behind Fitzcarraldo is as magnificent and captivating as the movie itself. We have the documentarian Les Blank to thank for the story behind the story. In the film, a man hauls a steamship over a mountain to build an opera house in the jungle. In reality, Herzog did the same, with a 300-ton boat. The filming would lead to the death of several crew members due to a plane crash, the loss of a finger via chainsaw amputation. So I'd like to make a slight correction. The finger part kind of got mixed up with Aguirre. For Fitzcarraldo, the chainsaw amputation was actually of an entire foot because someone had been bitten by an extremely venomous snake. So it's even more crazy than just a finger. And even a moment when the local tribes people offered to kill Kinski for Herzog. The studio tried time and time again to curb Werner's dream, but he would not acquiesce, and he created something truly spectacular in that specific scene. The man who said that the world reveals itself to those who travel by foot became seemingly disenfranchised by the jungle, calling it obscene. And I think because of the hardships of dragging that damn boat over the mountain, he became so pessimistic of what he had once loved. Ironically, the film itself is not about the triumph of a man pulling a ship over a mountain, but how triumph can be quickly followed by devastation. The story is incredible and an absolute must-watch. Unfortunately, the last narrative feature we have between Klaus and Werner is Cobra Verde. In this film, Cobra is destined to failure, which is a common theme among films of Werner Herzog. Whether it is the loss of sanity, the corrosion of spirituality, or the emotional toll of abandonment on behalf of those you love, Werner Herzog can use history to tell that tale. The nearly 2-decade-long and 5-film run between Werner and Kinski had came to a conclusion via narrative features, but with it came a colossal change. Not only would there never be a madman like Kinski starring in Herzog's films, but he also shifted more deeply, Herzog that is, into documentaries in the late 80s and 90s. Lessons from the Darkness is a film unlike anything else, where Werner was able to capture the week-long fires in the aftermath of the Gulf War. In the amazing cinematography Werner had in his narrative features, you can see this in his documentary with his ability to find beauty in destruction. Towards the end of the 90s, Werner would finally look back at the relationship between himself and his former muse. My Best Fiend is my favorite Werner Herzog documentary. The relationship between Klaus and Werner has long intrigued me, and so hearing all of the drama between the two was captivating. You hear the insane outbursts Kinski would have on set, including when he shot the finger off of a cast member when shooting blindly into a building filled with crew members during the filming of Aguirre, The Wrath of God. Werner also threatened to shoot Kinski during that same filming. I think much like The Mountain in the filming of Fitzcarraldo, Werner saw to it that he tamed the wild beast known as Klaus Kinski to capture the performance only Klaus could bring. Werner had a strange affection for Kinski, and much like Les Blanc's Burden of Dreams, My Best Fiend shows how far Werner is willing to go for his craft. Herzog's tale continues with two more documentaries, Grizzly Man and Encounters at the End of the World. Grizzly Man is possibly one of the most popular tales amongst Herzog's documentaries as it illustrates the final years of Timothy Treadwell. Timothy Treadwell very likely believed he could live amongst the bears, and that they could love him as he loved them. The character study is amazing because it shows Timothy for his flaws, but I think Herzog chose him as a subject because Timothy had a pureness that is often eroded by society. Encounters at the End of the World feels like yet another flex of Herzog as he continues to expand his achievements, this time filming in Antarctica. Rather than film the adorable penguins for the audience to gawk at, Herzog films them and asks the professionals that he's interviewing if they dream of madness. This is the brilliance of Werner Herzog. The next two films are narrative features, that being Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, and My Son, What Have Ye Done? Port of Call, New Orleans has a relatively loaded cast for a Herzog film and is led by Nicolas Cage. Cage's performance is bonkers in this film, even for Nick Cage standards. To see him snorting rails, changing accents halfway through the movie, and portraying one of the dirtiest cops to hit the screens is really a sight to behold. Herzog keeps with his artistic background by filming close-ups of animals such as alligators and iguanas with a fisheye lens. My Son, What Have Ye Done is equally, if not more impressive in its cast, with Michael Shannon and Willem Dafoe being the marquee names. This film, like many Herzog films, revolves around the madness of our main character, leading to their downfall. The brilliance in this film is that it leads us to watch in horror as we think if that could become you, or better yet, how long until we become like that. Our next two films are Into the Abyss and Into the Inferno. While they are seemingly companion pieces because of their titles, they look at the destructiveness of their subject materials in vastly different ways. For Into the Abyss, Herzog's unflinching stare allows us to see an unbiased and warts and all picture of capital punishment. To not lean in any direction too strongly and give a cut and dry depiction, Herzog is able to show the subject material for exactly what it is. The same approach brilliantly works nearly the opposite for Into the Inferno. In this documentary, Herzog is able to recapture a childlike wonder for the beauty of nature, despite how destructive volcanoes are. Much like Lessons from the Darkness, Herzog can find and capture beauty anywhere. One thing I find extremely unique about Werner is his constant insistence that he is not crazy. I've really never heard any director plead that they were sane, and yet I've heard Herzog say it enough for it to really stand out. People often think that Werner is insane to do the things that he has. Pull a ship over a mountain, film in war zones, put up with a raving lunatic for 5 films, travel to the farthest reaches of the globe, and hypnotizing his own actors. The thing about it is, madness is often misunderstood genius. Herzog walks the line between visionary and madman. But what's clear is that he has devoted his life to chasing something most filmmakers only glimpse, a kind of mystical truth. And when he finds it, whether in a dancing chicken, a burning oil field, or the eyes of Klaus Kinski, it is unforgettable.